Welcome to the Doctor Who recap. This video series will attempt to recap every single episode of Doctor Who from the classic era, including lost episodes, to the modern era. The Edge of Destruction was the third serial of Doctor Who. The story is unique in the original series in that it is set entirely inside the TARDIS and features only the regular cast members. The first Doctor, while attempting to correct the TARDIS' faulty navigation circuits, causes a small explosion. The Doctor, Barbara, Ian and Susan are all rendered unconscious. Barbara is the first to recover shortly, followed by Susan, who has trouble remembering who Barbara is, where she is, and is suffering from a pain in the back of her neck. Susan suddenly realizes the Doctor lying on the floor with a gash on his head and rushes to his side, followed by Barbara. Susan recovers her senses enough to retrieve a special healing bandage from the ship's first aid kit and water from the food machine for her injured grandfather. While she is away, Ian wakes up and is clearly confused. After seeing the open TARDIS doors, Susan becomes convinced that an alien presence is on board and has seized control of the ship. The TARDIS doors begin to mysteriously open and close whenever Ian moves towards them. When Susan tries to operate the controls, she suddenly faints. As the Doctor regains consciousness, Barbara tends to him while Ian carries Susan to her room. There she tries to stab him with a pair of scissors, not knowing who he is, but suddenly stabs the scissors on the bed multiple times before collapsing. Later, the Doctor, Barbara, and Ian discuss the situation, each alternating between clarity of mind and paranoid sniping. Susan retrieves the scissors whilst nobody is looking and returns to her room. The Doctor checks the system controls with Ian's assistance, while Barbara checks on Susan. Susan becomes very suspicious of Barbara and threatens her with the pair of scissors, but Barbara is able to stop her from doing any real harm. Susan reveals that she thinks something is hiding inside the ship, or inside one of them. When the Doctor tries to determine their location with the view scanner, he finds only images which he recognizes as records of the TARDIS' earlier trips. The last image, a picture of planets, a solar system and an explosion, puzzles him. When the Doctor opens the TARDIS doors, but they quickly close themselves when Ian approaches them. Soon, the Doctor begins to accuse his human companions of attacking him and Susan and tampering with the TARDIS controls whilst they were unconscious, in an attempt to get the TARDIS back to England in 1963. Furious, Barbara refutes the Doctor's suspicions with a recap of their recent adventure on Skaro, where she and Ian risked their lives to save the Doctor and Susan from the Daleks, and cites Ian's bravery in the Cave of Skulls. Her tirade is abruptly ended when she sees the cathedral clock the Doctor keeps in the console room has melted, a sight which horrifies her. The travellers all check their watches and see the same has happened to their timepieces. Barbara, disturbed, takes off her watch and throws it away from her, before breaking down into tears. The Doctor leaves from the room during the commotion, but returns with a tray of drinks, a nightcap, which he serves as a peace offering to his companions. Barbara, Susan retire to their quarters with their drinks. Ian has an argument with the Doctor about how he treated Barbara, which ends with the Doctor walking off. After looking in on his companions to confirm they are asleep, the Doctor returns to the console. As he examines it, a pair of hands swing him around and grab him by the throat. The Doctor's attacker is revealed to be Ian. A strange force has compelled him to stop the Doctor from operating the TARDIS controls, but Ian recognizes the Doctor and then collapses. Barbara enters the console room, only to have her and Ian accused of sabotage and conspiracy by the Doctor. As Barbara tries to reason with the Doctor, Susan enters the room and seemingly sides with her grandfather, but then believes her teacher's innocence after the Doctor threatens to throw the humans off his ship. Barbara pleads with an unconscious Ian to help her, but when he awakes he is dazed. The Doctor tries to go through with his plan despite Susan's protests. Suddenly an alarm sounds and the Doctor rushes to the fault locator, which lights up, showing faults in every system. The Doctor admits that he has misjudged the pair of teachers and tells them they have to work together to get out of the danger they are in. The ship rocks, throwing everyone off balance. The Doctor realizes the TARDIS power source, located beneath the console, is trying to force its way out, and they are only minutes from destruction. Barbara deduces that the strange events are an attempt by the TARDIS itself to warn the crew that something is wrong. The Doctor lies to Susan and Barbara about the amount of time they have left, but reveals the truth to Ian, explaining that when the end comes he doesn't want the women to know about it. The Doctor deduces that the TARDIS is heading to the beginning of the solar system. The Doctor traces the fault of the ship to a broken spring in the fast return switch, which had been stuck down, sending them further back in time than intended. Barbara deduces that the strange events are an attempt by the TARDIS itself to warn the crew that something is wrong. The Doctor lies to Susan and Barbara about the amount of time they have left, but reveals the truth to Ian, explaining that when the end comes he doesn't want the women to know about it. The Doctor deduces that the TARDIS is heading to the beginning of the solar system. The Doctor traces the fault of the ship to a broken spring in the fast return switch, which had been stuck down, sending them further back in time than intended. The four prepare to explore their new surroundings, this time a snowy plain. When Barbara and Susan go outside, they discover a giant footprint in the snow.